Welcome to Haker Equipment Company. We are a municipal equipment dealership. We have two locations, one in the city of Laverne covering Southern California, and one in Las Vegas that covers the Southern Nevada area. The manufacturers that we represent are Vactor and their 2100 Plus sewer cleaning model, the HXX Hydro Excavator, along with other models that will clean or dig with the use of high pressure water and air conveyance. Elgin Sweeper Company, who has built street sweepers since 1914, like the Pelican, the Broom Bear, the Crosswind, and the Whirlwind are just a few. Total Clean is a division of Haker Equipment that supports the advanced industrial sweeper and scrubber equipment, from the ride-on type to the walk-behind equipment. The Nighthawk mid-size sweeper for landscape and parking lot maintenance. HD Industries and their Pro Patch for pothole repair. Burroughs Broom and their line of construction kick brooms. EnviroSight, sewer video inspection electronics like cameras and crawlers and quick view inspection systems. Keg Nozzles, sewer cleaning Tier 3 technology for superior line cleaning. Haker Equipment has our own line of sewer tools along with any item you would need to get the job done. Hello, my name is Kerry Alcott. Today's class is on CDL Pre-Trip Inspection. Most of the information has come directly from the California Commercial Driver Handbook. Vehicle inspections. Safety is the most important and obvious reason to inspect your vehicle. A vehicle defect found during inspection could save you problems later. You could have a breakdown on the road that will cost time and dollars, or even worse, a collision. Federal and state laws require inspection by the driver. Federal and state inspectors also inspect commercial vehicles. An unsafe vehicle can be put out of service until the driver or the owner can have it repaired. Do not risk your life or the life of another in an unsafe vehicle. Pre-trip inspections. Do a pre-trip inspection before each trip to find problems that could cause a collision or a breakdown. A pre-trip inspection should be done routinely before operating the vehicle. Review the last vehicle inspection report. Make sure the vehicle has been released for service by the maintenance mechanic. The motor carrier must repair any item in the report that affects safety and certify on the report that the repairs were made or were unnecessary. Remember, when you get behind the wheel, you, not the mechanic, are responsible for the safe operation of the vehicle. If the defects have been repaired, sign the previous driver's report. En route inspection. During a trip, you should watch gauges for signs of trouble. Use your senses to check for problems. Look, listen, smell, and feel. Check critical items when you stop. Tires, wheels, and rims. Brakes. Lights and reflectors. Brake and electrical connections to trailers. Trailer coupling devices. Cargo securement devices. After-trip inspection and report. Inspect the vehicle at the end of the trip, day, or tour of duty for each vehicle you operated. Drivers must complete a written vehicle inspection report each day. It must include a listing of any problems you find. The inspection report helps the motor carrier know when the vehicle needs repair. Inspections. What to look for as you approach the vehicle. Notice its general condition. Look for damage. Is the vehicle leaning to one side? Look under the vehicle for fresh oil, coolant, grease, or fuel leaks. Check the area around the vehicle for hazards to the vehicle's movement such as people, other vehicles, objects, low-hanging wires, or tree limbs. Check that the parking brakes are on and place wheel chocks in the front of and behind the tire of the rear axle. You may have to raise the hood or tilt a cab. Secure any loose items first, or open the engine compartment door. Inspecting in the engine compartment. Look for any leaks. You're looking for oil leaks, fuel leaks, coolant leaks. Look at hoses that might be rubbing on a steering column or brake hoses going to the brake cans on the wheels. Make sure they're not rubbing or deteriorated due to age. Inspect your oil level. If you had to start the motor to gain access to get to the engine, use the 1/4 inch rule. In other words, the oil level was a 1/4 inch higher before I started the motor. When checking your engine oil level, look at the condition of the oil. It should not be milky brown. It should not be real thin or smell like fuel. Before adding oil, see the engine owner manual for the specific oil required. Look around the engine compartment for decals that might reference the recommended engine oil to be used. If your engine is equipped with a diesel particulate filter, a low ash oil must be used. Alternative fuel engines will use a different oil than what a diesel engine is, and maybe a little different spec than a regular automotive gas engine oil. Cummins has a technical bulletin for the natural gas engine oil, being in CES 20074. When buying oil, for ease of identification, the packaging of the oil will show CES 20074 on it, and a 1540 oil is recommended. Check engine coolant level. Hiding behind the hose is a sensor that senses for low coolant level. If the sensor senses low coolant, it will tell the engine to derate. In other words, taking fuel control away from the throttle pedal to try to protect itself. You must keep the level above this sensor at all times. When there's a need to add coolant, look at the cap on the bottle. If it's a pressure cap, this is part of the cooling system. Never open up a hot system, and be careful when removing. There might be pressure in the system. When adding coolant, don't use any coolant. Coolants are different. They have different additive packages. There are coolants for automotive engines, and there's coolants for diesel engines. This chassis has a decal on it that's indicating a purple HD antifreeze coolant with the SCA additive. Color doesn't necessarily mean anything though. You're looking for adding a heavy duty or extended life coolant. Here's a decal from a different vehicle that's showing the extended life coolant that they recommend. Notice the color is not purple. If you don't have coolant available to you, adding water in the system to keep the level above the sensor is fine to keep the truck running. However, over time, adding too much water will dilute the coolant to where we lose protection. Mixing two different brands of coolant could be bad as well. The additives might fight each other and break down. Inspect the engine belt and fan for play. When inspecting the fan belt, check the belt for tightness. Some belts have automatic belt tensioners that don't require adjusting. You're also looking for cracks in the belt or starting to become brittle. Check the fan hub by putting your hand on the fan and shaking back and forth and looking for any play. Check the alternator for its mounting, electrical connections for tightness, and some have separate belts from a main serpentine belt that might need independent adjusting. Check transmission fluid level. If the truck is equipped with an automatic transmission, we need to check the transmission fluid. Watch the dipstick or tags that might be zip tied to the dipstick or to something close to the dipstick, indicating something other than regular Dextron trans fluid. This transmission dipstick is showing it has Allison TES 295 approved synthetic transmission fluid. Here is another transmission, also Allison, that is using Transcend fluid, which is also synthetic. The two fluids are not compatible with each other, and neither are compatible with Dextron 3. So what the tag is indicating is the type of fluid that must be used in that transmission, and there is no equivalent. These tags that indicate what type of fluids in the transmission do not remove from the vehicle. If you're starting to lose a tag due to tearing, find a location that it can be adhered back by putting tape around or punching another hole and adding another zip tie to secure it. Check the power steering fluid. Make sure you look for leaks. Inspect all of your hoses, looking for hose deterioration. Feel the hoses for hardness, if they're brittle or if you see cracking. Also, if a hose has oil on it, it'll start to swell, and that'll cause the clamps to become loose and could blow off under pressure. You might see blue hoses on your vehicle. These are silicone hoses, and if you do replace a hose, it's worth the investment to go to silicone hoses. Check the primary fuel filter for water. By opening the petcock on the bottom of the filter and allowing the contents to drain into a container, you're looking for just the water. When you start getting fresh fuel, you can close the petcock. Once you've accomplished the draining of this filter, make sure you dispose of what you've drained into the container properly. This cannot be thrown on the ground. It'll have a little bit of fuel in it. It should go into a waste oil system. Look at your air filter restriction indicator. If your air filter is dirty, it's restricting air into the engine, which could give you an overrich situation and cause more soot to plug up your diesel particulate filter, which could create a shutdown and could cause a breakdown. Check your window washer fluid. Use the proper washer fluid. Using water could freeze in cold weather. Inspect your batteries. You're looking for loose cable ends, corrosion on the battery cables, the hold downs for the battery are tight, and the battery box is secured to the frame rail. Inspect your fuel tank. Check the tank mounting for tightness and look for leaks. Make sure the steps are tight and secure. Diesel exhaust fluid is part of the new exhaust emissions. Check the tank mountings for tightness and look for leaks. Tire problems. It's dangerous to drive with bad tires. When inspecting your tires, look for too much or too little air pressure. All tires have their inflation pressures on the sidewall of the tire. Use an air pressure gauge to inflate your tires to the proper pressures. Thumping a tire with a club is not an accurate means of measuring pressure. Check the tread depth on all your tires. You need 1/8 of an inch of tread on every major groove on the front tires and 1/16 of an inch groove on all other tires. Inspect the tire for damage. There should be no fabric showing through the sidewall or the tread of the tire. Look for cuts and other damage or tread separation. Dual tires that come in contact with each other or other parts of the vehicle. Do not run mismatched tires or radial and bias tires together. Look at the valve stem for any damage like cuts or cracks. Some valve stems are made of rubber. On a steering axle of a bus, regrooved, recapped, or retread tires are prohibited. If you run a lot of highway speeds, you should consider new tires on your steering axle. If you're slow moving in cities like municipality vehicles, recaps on the steering are fine. If you've had a tire changed, you should stop a short while later and recheck the tightness of all the wheel nuts. Wheel and rim problems. A damaged rim can cause a tire to lose pressure or to come off. Look for the following. Damaged rims. Rust around wheel nuts may mean the nuts are loose. Check tightness. Missing clamps, spacers, studs, or lugs are dangerous. Mismatched, bent, or cracked lock rings are also dangerous. Wheels or rims that have welding repairs are not safe. On your steering axle wheel hubs, there's two different types. An oil bath has a removable cork where you can open to inspect the oil level. If there is no cork, it's grease packed, and that'll be inspected by a mechanic in an annual service. Bad brake drums or shoe lining problems. It's dangerous to drive with brake problems. Look for the following. Cracked drums. Shoe or pads with oil, grease, or brake fluid on them. Shoes worn dangerously thin, missing, or broken. Brake adjustment. Check your brakes by pulling on the slack adjuster. You should have an inch to inch and a half travel. The maximum the law allows is a total of 2 inch. Checking the steering system for defects. Poorly maintained steering systems can cause steering problems. Look for the following. Missing nuts, bolts, Carter keys, or other parts. Bent, loose, or broken parts such as steering columns, steering gearbox, or tie rod ends. If power steering equipped, check hoses, pumps, and fluid levels. Check for leaks. Steering wheel play of more than 10%, approximately 2 inches of movement at the rim of a 20-inch steering wheel can make it hard to steer. Suspension system defects. The suspension system supports the vehicle and its loads and keeps the axles in place. Broken suspension parts can be extremely dangerous. Look for the following. Spring hangers that allow movement of axles from proper position. Cracked or broken spring hangers. Missing or broken leaves in any leaf spring. If 1/4 or more are missing, it will put the vehicle out of service, but any defect could be dangerous. Broken leaves in a multi-leaf spring or leaves that have shifted, which may cause damage to a tire or other parts. And look for leaking shock absorbers. On a rear axle suspension, check the torque rods or torque arms, U-bolts, spring hangers, and other axle positioning parts that are cracked, damaged, or missing. In addition to what we've already mentioned on airbag suspensions, you want to look at airbags for cracked, damage, or leaking. Also, any loose, cracked, or broken missing frame members. Inspecting the exhaust system for defects. A broken exhaust system can let poisonous fumes into the cab or the sleeper. Look for loose, broken, or missing exhaust pipes, mufflers, tailpipes, or vertical stacks. Loose, broken, missing mounting brackets, clamps, bolts, or nuts. Exhaust system parts rubbing against fuel system parts, tires, or other parts of the vehicle. Exhaust system parts that are leaking, such as band clamps or flex pipe. Emergency equipment. Vehicles should be equipped with fire extinguishers, spare electrical fuses, warning devices for parked vehicles, like triangle reflectors. Inspecting cargo. Before each trip, inspect cargo for overloading, correct balance, securement, proper papers and paste carding, if the cargo contains hazardous materials or waste which require paste carding. Lights and reflectors. Reflectors should be cleaned and the proper color, red at the rear. Verify that the following lights are clean, operating, and the proper color. Headlights, high beams and low beams, turn signals, brake lights, running lights and ID lights, emergency flashers. Note all corresponding dash lights should be checked also. It's time to get in the vehicle. Turn off all lights not needed for driving. Check for all required papers, trip manifests, permits, etc. Secure all loose articles in the cab that might interfere with the operation of controls or hit you in a collision. Start the engine. Checking the brake system. Test hydraulic brakes. If the vehicle has hydraulic brakes, pump the brake pedal 3 times. Then apply firm pressure to the pedal and hold for 5 seconds. The brake pedal should not move. If it does, there may be a leak or other problem which must be repaired before driving. If the vehicle has air brakes, we'll be covering that in the next few slides. Test parking brake. First, fasten your seat belt. Then allow the vehicle to move forward slowly and apply the parking brake. If the vehicle does not stop, get the brakes repaired before you drive the vehicle. Warning: on drive shaft parking brakes, do not apply the brake while moving. The parking brake is attached to the tail shaft of the transmission, and the weight of the vehicle might break the tail shaft of the transmission. To test the drive shaft type parking brake, apply the brake, put the truck in gear, and then increase RPM no more than 1,000 RPMs. The truck should hold. Test service brake. First, fasten your seat belt. Then allow the vehicle to move forward about 5 miles per hour and push the brake pedal firmly. If the vehicle pulls to one side or the other, or if there is any unusual brake pedal feel or delay stopping action, the service brake may need to be repaired before you drive the vehicle. Applied leakage test. First, chock your wheels. With a basically full charged air system, turn off the engine. Release brakes so that the entire system is charged. Allow the system to settle. Air gauge needle stops moving. Apply firm, steady pressure to the brake pedal, brake on, and hold. After the system settles again, time for 1 minute. The air pressure should not drop more than 3 psi for a single vehicle, 4 psi for a combination of 2 vehicles, 6 psi for a combination of 3 or more vehicles. An air loss greater than those shown indicate a problem in the braking system and repairs are needed before operating the vehicle. Air compressor governor cutout pressure test. To perform this test, the air pressure for the vehicle must be rising when the engine is running. Run the engine at fast idle. The air compressor governor must kick out prior to the needle reaching 130 psi. When the needle stops raising is the governor cutout pressure. Air compressor governor cut-in pressure test. To perform this test, the air pressure for the vehicle cannot be raising when the engine is running. With the engine idling, slowly pump the brake pedal to reduce the air tank pressure. Watch the air pressure gauge between pumps to identify when the compressor cuts in, needle starts to raise. This should occur no lower than 85 psi. Low air pressure warning device test. This test may be performed with engine on or off. To perform the test with the engine off, turn the electrical power on and have enough air pressure to keep the low air pressure warning device from coming on. Slowly pump the brake pedal to reduce the air tank pressure. The low air pressure warning device must activate between 55 and 75 psi. If the warning signal does not work, you could lose air pressure and not know it. This could cause sudden emergency braking in a single circuit air system. In dual systems, the stopping distance will be increased. Only limited braking can be done before the spring brakes come on. Check that the spring brakes come on automatically. Chock the wheels. Release all parking brakes and shut off engine. Pump the brake pedal to reduce the air tank pressure. The air supply knob should pop out when the air pressure falls to the manufacturer's specifications, usually in the range between 20 and 45 psi. This causes the spring brakes to engage. The air tanks must be drained of water each day. Drain the wet tank first so water doesn't transfer to the other tanks. The new Bendix ADIS air dryer has a built-in wet tank and purges water automatically. It is still the driver's responsibility to drain the tanks to assure that there's no water in the system. After trip inspection and report, you must make a written report each day on the condition of the vehicle you drive. Report anything affecting safety which could lead to a mechanical breakdown. The vehicle inspection report tells the vehicle owner about problems that may need repair. Keep a copy of your record in the vehicle for 1 day. That way, the next driver can learn about any problems you have found. If the defects have been repaired, sign the previous driver's report. That concludes our class today on pre-trip inspection. Please drive safe and watch for hazards ahead of you.